Guys, thank you for following our stories. We are happy with the feedback you gave us. Keep enjoying our videos. Don't forget to also follow the stories on our secondary channel. If you find any errors or mistakes in our narration, let us know so we can continue improving. Well, let's get to our story. It would be a year after the Tournament of Power. Goku was looking forward to a new tournament since he had been training hard. Goku would propose to Vegeta to ask for another tournament, but with the condition of not destroying any universe. Come on, Vegeta, we'll ask Zeno for another tournament. It'll be great, Goku would say. Kakarot, you are a complete idiot, Vegeta would say. You will put the 12 universes at risk again. Come on, Vegeta, I actually saved him. Remember that Daishinkan said that Zeno was going to disappear from the universes. Goku would explain. Well, anyway, I'll go ask for the tournament. That Kakarot will put us in danger again. I have to stop him, Vegeta would think. Vegeta would communicate with Whis thanks to a magic stone that he had given him for emergency cases. So Goku wants a new Tournament of Power? Whis would say seriously. Is that idiot crazy? Beerus would ask with a mixture of anger and terror. We have to stop him at all costs, Vegeta would say. I don't want to betray Goku, but I'm not willing to risk my family again either, Vegeta would say. Remember that Mr. Goku is very attached to Zeno, so there is nothing to do that can cause his death or bother us, Whis would say. Damn the day Goku met Zeno, Beerus would say. Beerus would come up with a very crazy idea, but it was the only thing he could do. Whis, I have a plan, but it's very crazy, Beerus would say. What will he be thinking? Whis would ask. Unleash him, Beerus would say. Mr. Beerus, are you sure? Whis would ask. Remember that the unleash is something serious. What are you talking about? Vegeta would ask, doubtful, since he had never heard of the unleash. You don't have to know anything. We'll take care of it from now on, Beerus would say seriously. A few hours later, Goku would arrive at Beerus's planet with the intention of communicating his idea of creating another power tournament. Beerus, Whis, I want another power tournament, Goku would say. Whis and Beerus would look very serious. They were already prepared for Goku's arrival. Have you talked to Zeno? Whis would ask. Not yet. I didn't want to go over you, Goku would say. Wow, how attentive you have been this time, Whis would say. Very good. Goku, stay there, Beerus would say. Well, what are you going to do? Goku would ask innocently, without expecting what was coming. Beerus would create a crack in the air. As his nail passed, a dimensional crack was created. A purple portal would be seen, and this one tried to absorb Goku. Whis, pay attention, Beerus would say. Several beings from afar were seen from the other side of the portal. Goku would be swallowed entirely, but something would escape at high speed. It can't be, Beerus would say. Beerus would close the portal with Goku on the other side. I can't believe it. Someone escaped, Beerus would say. It will be nothing that the King of Destruction cannot solve, Whis smiled. Well, we will have to destroy it, Beerus would say. Meanwhile, Goku would fall into a strange dimension. The sky looked purple. A strange fog would cover it. What kind of place is this? Goku would ask. What do we have here? A mysterious being would ask when he showed up. Who are you? Goku would ask. My name is Janemba. I am an outcast. Just like you are, Janemba would say when pointing to Goku. Outcast? What is that? Goku would ask, confused. Don't you know what an outcast is? But you have just been outcast, Janemba would say. What am I gonna know? Beerus simply sent me here, Goku would answer. I was a demon who terrorized the 12 universes. Since Beerus could not use the Hakai on me, he preferred to outcast me to this area where we are. It is the Omega Dimension, Janemba would explain. Now tell me, how much chaos have you done to earn this punishment? Janemba would ask, considering Goku as if he were an evil being. I am not a villain. On the contrary, I saved 8 universes from destruction, Goku would say seriously. Aren't you a villain? I can't believe. You must have done something bad to end up here, Janemba would say, furious. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't even know I was going to be banished. I am someone who fights for justice and for the good of others, Goku would say. It is an insult that someone like you is here, Janemba would say when increasing his ki. Janemba would throw himself at Goku to attack him.
He would reach him with a strong punch that would leave Goku bent. After a hook, he would lift him to the top of the sky. It's strong, Goku would think. Janemba would fly straight to Goku, but he would turn into Super Saiyan Blue. Janemba would retreat, warned of his power. It can't be that he has that gigantic ki, Janemba would think when moving away. What's wrong with you? Weren't you going to attack me? Goku would ask. Janemba would start laughing like a crazy, as if he were dominating the situation. You are a very funny guy. You have no idea what's going on, Janemba laughed. Goku would arrive with a bloat straight to Janemba's stomach, and after a kick, he would throw him to the ground, creating a big hole in the ground. If it was a joke, I didn't see the grace, Goku would say, annoying. You are the joke. Janemba would throw himself at Goku again.
Both would begin to exchange blows, but Goku had the advantage. After several minutes of combat, Janemba would begin to feel tired, while Goku looked in good condition. I don't see you as funny as a while ago, Goku would say, seriously. You'll see, bastard. Janemba would answer by forcing his ki. Janemba would increase his power, proving that he was not fighting seriously. Even so, Goku did not look amazed. On the contrary, he seemed to get bored with the fight. Janemba would join his hands to perform a great ki attack. After channeling enough energy, he would execute a powerful attack. Goku was waiting for him, but before the attack reached him, Goku would simply disappear. Where did he go? Janemba would ask, terrified. Goku was right in front of Janemba, with a ki ball loaded in his hand. Then, Goku would attack with the ki ball at close range. He would manage to cross Janemba side by side. You're a cheater, Janemba would say, agonizing. And you, bad loser, Goku would answer. Although you have banished me, you have not gained anything. You will stay here until you die, Janemba would say, making fun of Goku. I'll get out of here. I'll find the way, Goku would say. You do not understand, Janemba laughed. If by chance you find the way out, it will be too late. You did not know from what I see, but time here flows differently. What do you mean? Goku would ask, terrified. Every day here is a year away. In addition, with your entry, Tarkio escaped. Someone much stronger than me, would explain Janemba. I assure you, by the time you get out of here, Tarkio will have destroyed everything. Tell me more about him, Goku would ask, but Janemba was beginning to dematerialize. No, Janemba would say at the end of dematerializing. Janemba would disappear completely. There would be nothing left of him. Damn, I have to find a way out of here as soon as possible, Goku would say, worried about the well-being of others. Meanwhile, Tarkio had escaped from the Omega Dimension, while Beerus and Whis were looking for him everywhere. Whis traveled with Beerus throughout Universe 7, trying to locate Tarkio with his binoculars. Come on, Whis, it cannot be so difficult to find someone of your level, impatient Beerus would say. Calm down. This would not have happened if I had trained properly and eliminated him, the angel would say. I had to unburden him. I could not be stronger all at once, Beerus would answer, upset. The Omega Zone is for dangerous and indestructible beings. Tarkio could be destroyed by you if he had only trained more at that time, the angel would say. Anyway, it was only a few years for him. I don't think he had so much time to strengthen, Beerus would say. I found it, Whis warned. It is on the planet Yardrat. What could he be doing there? Beerus would ask. Taking precautions. Remember that the planet Yardrat is the planet where the wisest have prepared, Whis would say. Finally, Beerus and Whis would reach the planet Yardrat. Although they would find everything in chaos, Tarkio had just devastated everything. There could hardly be any survivors. Wow, what do I see? The very god of the destruction of the 7th universe, Beerus, Tarkio would say, with a strange cordiality to speak. And his angel, Whis. I can't believe you have been aware of the portal, Beerus would say. You left at the right time. Oh yeah, I was waiting for it, Tarkio smiled. For what here is a few seconds, in the Omega Dimension is a moment as tiny as a beam of light.
After reaching the Omega dimension, I noticed that some portals were opened. It was just a matter of practice and training, and then wait for that precise moment. Wow, sooner or later, I was going to leave, Whis would say. And you would have stayed in the Omega dimension when I unleashed you. You would still be alive, Beerus would say, as he increased his ki. I do not feel that your ki has changed, Beerus, Tarkio would say. For me, it was 16 years, something like 5,000 years for you. Tell me, Beerus, have you trained in these 5,000 years? Tarkio would ask. You have not done it, Whis would say. Whis, which side are you on, Beerus? Beerus would ask. None. Remember that I am an impartial being, Whis would answer. Tarkio would begin to raise his ki. A sinister aura shook Beerus. Come on, Beerus, I will show you the fruit of my training, Tarkio would say. Tarkio, from one moment to another, had reached Beerus with a fist blow. Beerus had crossed his arms at the right time. He had receded, scraping his feet on the ground. Wow, not bad. I think you are a little stronger than before, Tarkio would say. But only a little. Tarkio would throw himself at Beerus again. This time he would really attack him. His blows were so fast that the god of destruction barely limited himself to covering from his attacks. What's going on? You can't even attack, Tarkio would scream while making fun of Beerus. Damn bastard, he is trained very hard, Beerus would think. Tarkio would fiercely hit Beerus's chest, and he would go far by the impulse. Beerus would crash into a mountain which would be completely destroyed, leaving rubble. Tarkio would throw himself where Beerus had fallen, but the rubble would disappear by the Hawkeye of the god of destruction. Beerus would walk slowly. Hawkeye energy emanated that surrounded his body.
Wow, I see you very sure of yourself, Tarkio would say. Tarkio would try to attack Beerus, but before he arrived, he would move away from him instantly. What's going on? Beerus would ask. Have you already lost the intention of attacking me? A very interesting Hawkeye barrier, Tarkio would say. Tarkio would close his eyes. A small beam of white light would cover his body. What is he doing? Beerus would ask. Tarkio would go to Beerus again. He would throw a punch and Beerus would hold his hand, being that the god of destruction was covered with Hawkeye energy. Beerus believed that with that Tarkio would disappear, but it was not like that. Surprised, he would ask and then connect a strong kick in Beerus, throwing him away. Don't think your stupid Hawkeye has an effect on me. I haven't spent 16 years locked up in the Omega dimension without taking into account that cowardly technique, Tarkio would say. Tarkio would begin to attack Beerus with a rain of punches. Beerus could not cover himself from any. This is for the 16 years you had me locked up, Tarkio would say to throw a ki beam at short distance. Beerus would have fired several meters rolling on the ground. Tarkio would reach him and step on his chest while accumulating ki in his hand. It's your end, Beerus, Tarkio would say that while pointing his hand at Beerus. Apparently, that could be the end of Beerus, the god of destruction of Universe 7. Tarkio would be about to eliminate Beerus. Just at the moment of launching his ki attack, Beerus would move his head to one side, dodging the attack for a while. With that, you still had some energy? Tarkio would say. Beerus would throw a ki ball at short distance, thus achieving that Tarkio withdraws his foot from his chest. Damn it, Beerus would say in agony. You'll pay for this very dearly. I don't think so. Tarkio would throw a fist blow at short distance, but Beerus would dodge it very easily by performing a harmonious movement. Is it possible that Whis would wonder when he noticed Beerus's reflection? Tarkio would throw another fist blow, but the same thing would happen. Beerus would simply move to one side. But what the hell? Tarkio would wonder in amazement. Tarkio would begin to attack with a sequence of very fast fist blows, but Beerus would move at a higher speed. Suddenly, Beerus would kick Tarkio in the stomach. Tarkio would step back several steps. He would touch his stomach, feeling a great pain. What is that? His movements are so harmonious and precise that he moves just and necessary, Tarkio would say furiously. At last, Mr. Beerus, you are managing to master the Ultra Instinct, Whis would celebrate.
Ultra what? Tarkio would wonder, terrified. Beerus would come to Tarkio, connecting a strong knee, then a fist blow on his face, and finally a kick to one side of his ribs. Beerus's blows were very powerful, causing great damage to his rival. It can't be that I win by a technique he took out of, Tarkio said until he was interrupted by a kick from Beerus. Tarkio would step away. He would stand up with difficulty. Beerus would go to Tarkio to give him the final blow, but when he threw a fist blow, Tarkio would hold his hand normally. What? Beerus would say, terrified. It seems that your weird instinct is over, Tarkio would say furiously. Tarkio would throw a ray of ki towards Beerus, and he would be fired away. Beerus could not get up. He was totally out of combat. It seems that he exhausted all his forces with the Ultra Instinct. Well, I think I'll be unemployed, Wiz would say, something sad but without intervening. Tarkio would prepare a ball of ki to attack Beerus, but Vegeta would arrive with a flying kick straight to his face. Tarkio would interrupt his attack by flying away. "Who are you?" Tarkio would ask, furious. "I'm Vegeta, the Prince of the Saiyajin," Vegeta would say. "Saiyajin? How do you hate those wild apes?" Tarkio would say by raising his ki. "Don't trust yourself, Mr. Vegeta. Remember that you are below the level of Mr. Beerus," Wiz would say. "Don't forget that the Saiyajin always exceed our limits," Vegeta would say by transforming into Super Saiyajin Blue. Vegeta would throw everything at Tarkio. He attacked him as best he could, but his level was far below. Tarkio would hit Vegeta with his tail, causing him great damage. Tarkio would try to take a step forward, but a broken rib prevented him from advancing. "Damn it! Beerus managed to hurt me more than I thought," Tarkio would think. Vegeta would stand up. He had witnessed Tarkio's great power. "This guy compares himself to Jiren. If he still hasn't finished with me, it's because he's too weak," Vegeta would think. "Damn it, you're going to pay for this very dearly," Tarkio would say when approaching Vegeta. Vegeta would try to face him, but Tarkio's level was higher. In a matter of minutes, Tarkio would easily beat Vegeta, although he was very tired. By looking to one side, he would notice that Beerus and Wiz had disappeared. They escaped, but it doesn't matter. "Beerus can't beat me," Tarkio would say. Meanwhile, Goku had been training in Omega Dimension for a few days. He was looking for a way to create a dimensional crack, remembering how Beerus had done it. "Come on, it shouldn't be that hard," Goku would think. Goku would increase his ki to the maximum. Then he would begin to channel energy at the tip of his finger. Passing the finger in the air, he would create an opening, but it would close instantly. "Damn it! I was so close," Goku would think. Surely Beerus made it easy for him because he leaned on the Hawkeye. Goku would try again. He would channel energy at his index finger, but in a different way. After passing the finger in the air, he would create a portal by tearing reality, this time big enough and sustainable to pass. Goku would cross the portal and it would close behind him. He had barely cut any of his hair. "Damn, I was so close," Goku would say. "I just wonder how much time has passed." Goku would realize that he was on the planet of Beerus. "This bastard is gonna pay me," Goku would say when looking for him, but he would notice his castle totally destroyed. "Wait a minute, what happened here?" Goku would ask. Goku would begin to go through the whole castle, or rather what was left of him. He would not find anyone anywhere. This will be the result of that Taltar that escaped from the Omega Dimension? Goku would ask. I wonder how much time will have passed since the last time I was here. At one point, Goku would look for the key to the beings of the Earth, but unfortunately, he could not do it. Goku would squeeze his fist with great anger. "It cannot be that Tarkio has killed everyone," Goku would say furiously. Goku would begin to search the planet to try to locate even the Oracle fish, but he did not appear. After several minutes, he would only have to resort to the Kaioshin, but he could not feel his ki either. "It cannot be that everyone in this universe has died," Goku would say furiously. Then he would make the decision to go to the Beyond, where Zeno-Sama was. But look who arrived, Immortal would scream furiously. Hey, it's not for you to be furious with me, Goku would say. I was buried in another dimension and I could not feel anyone's ki. I need answers and I just came here. Wow, so you do not know anything at all? Immortal would say. I do not feel anyone's ki on Earth. Could you tell me what happened? Goku would ask. Goku, everyone has died, Immortal would say. Where have you been all these years? I was in a dimension where a day in there was like a year here. It is as if this reality were the room of time, Goku would explain. Tell me, how many years have passed? 12 years, Immortal would answer. Do me a favor, let me go to heaven. I want to talk to the others, Goku would ask. It is not possible, Immortal would answer. Why? Goku would ask annoyingly. Everyone has been reincarnated in other beings. Not even I know where the souls of your friends are. They could well be another being on a planet that you do not know, or some simple insects, Immortal would explain. Come on, some beings are allowed to exist in heaven. I've already been dead, Goku would say. I'm sorry, Goku. No one has stayed. There is no planet Earth. No one feared reason to have an existence in the beyond. Not even Vegeta, Immortal would explain. It cannot be, Goku would say. Goku would use teleportation to reach the planet of Kaiosama. Goku, I can't believe you are you, Kaiosama would say, amazed. Where did you get all these years? It's a long story. Basically, I was locked in another dimension because of Beelz, Goku would say. Goku? Piccolo would ask when leaving Immortal-sama's house. Piccolo! With you if you're still here, Goku would say, happy. Goku would notice a gorilla on Piccolo's head. It's not good to say it, but I'm glad you're dead and your soul has been preserved, Goku would say. I imagine you do not know what happened, Piccolo would say. Goku would explain to Piccolo and Kamishama everything that had happened and about his confinement in the Omega Dimension, with a day and a year, and think that all this is because of Beelz, Piccolo would say. Then I must find that Tarkio, defeat him, and look for the dragon's super spheres, Goku would say. You say it as if it were easy. Tarkio beat us all. Not even Beelz could against him, Piccolo would say. That bastard did make a mistake when unlocking me, and that's why it cost him his life, Goku would say. Goku, Beelz is not dead, Kaiosama would say. What? Did you know? Piccolo would ask. I never said it because it didn't seem necessary to me. Beelz hides with the Kaioshin on a distant planet. Whis created a barrier over the planet to block the incoming and outgoing energy flow, so no one can feel their ki. That will serve until Zeno needs them and they don't come. There, Zeno will realize that something bad happens in Universe 7. Kaiosama would explain. Why did you never tell me? Piccolo would ask. Because anyway, you couldn't do anything. It would only bitter your existence here, Kaiosama would answer. Goku, Tarkio is a very powerful being who in the past was locked up by Beelz since he could not defeat him. Only during his confinement, he has trained hard, unlike Beelz who has slept more than anything else. I know you are, but messing with him will only be going to your own death. Better stay here, Kaiosama would recommend. I refuse, Goku would say. It was to be expected. Then, at least I will give you an interesting fact, Kaiosama would say. Tell me, Goku would ask. Caulifla has been training very hard during these years. She has faced Tarkio and survived by miracle. She now has an amazing power, all because Tarkio traveled to Universe 6 and destroyed all the Saiyans, Kaiosama would explain. Okay, I'll look for Caulifla, Goku would say. No, Goku, wait! Kaiosama would try to stop him, but it would be too late. Goku had already used teleportation and had disappeared. You have to say things in order. First you would have told him about Caulifla before saying that she has his level, Piccolo would say. Seconds later, Goku would see a strange planet with a lot of wildlife. I'm sure I felt Caulifla's ki around here.
Goku would say. Caulifla would arrive with a flying kick straight into Goku's chest.
Goku would be fired away by the great force of impact. "Damn, what is that way of receiving me?" Goku would ask. "Damn coward," Caulifla Furiosa would say. "Hey, wait, I can explain my absence," Goku would say. Caulifla would attack Goku with a fist bump, turning his face to one side. "You've been missing all these years while Darkio killed all our friends. You're a bastard," Caulifla would say. "Could you calm down?" Goku would ask. "I won't. My little sister Kale died to save me and you weren't there," Caulifla would say. Caulifla would attack Goku with several ki balls, and he would be forced to dodge them, although it was very difficult for him. "Caulifla, please let me talk," Goku would ask. "I don't want to hear a single word from you. I just want to kill you," Caulifla would say, by connecting a strong fist bump to Goku's stomach. Goku would transform into Super Saiyan Blue, unleashing all his power. "If you want it for the bad, you'll get it," Goku would say. Caulifla would transform into Super Saiyan, throw herself, and both would braid their hands while they were fighting. "He has a lot of strength to only use the Super Saiyan," Goku would think. "Damn disgusting. You're going to pay for hiding all these years." Caulifla would connect a headbutt to Goku's nose. He would release Caulifla while her nose was bleeding. Then Caulifla would throw several punches, one after the other, without giving Goku time to defend himself. "Enough!" Goku would scream while using the Kaioken and connect at that moment a fist bump to Caulifla, who would throw her away. "You better listen to me," Goku would scream, since he was tired of everyone treating him the same way for having been locked up against his will in the Omega Dimension. He was no longer going to allow anyone else to treat him badly, and like a coward. Goku and Caulifla would be having an intense battle. Caulifla felt a lot of resentment towards Goku for having disappeared for so long. He totally ignored everything related to his exile in the hands of Beelzebub. "Enough, Caulifla. Fighting among us, we will not gain anything," Goku would say to try to reason with Caulifla. But there was no use. "I don't want to listen to you," Caulifla would scream when exploding his ki. Caulifla would come out fired as a torpedo to attack Goku. He would arrive with a headshot to his chest. Goku would come out injured after that attack. "He has become very strong after these 12 years, Goku would think. Goku would throw several ki balls at Caulifla. She would reject them by covering herself with her forearms. Even so, the energy balls were directed again towards Caulifla when changing direction, and they go from behind Caulifla. But even so, she would move from side to side to dodge them. "Wow, he has a good domain of the battlefield. That means he uses all his senses to fight," Goku would think when put himself on guard. Caulifla would attack more and more intensely and aggressively. She would not stop for anything in the world. "I'm going to kill you, Goku," Caulifla would scream. Caulifla would connect a strong punch to Goku's stomach that would leave him hunched. Goku would be forced to crouch and hold his stomach. He would try to say something, but he barely passed the air. Then Caulifla would throw a ki beam at short distance. Goku would come out rolling on the ground. At the end of rolling, he would be upside down. Caulifla would jump on top of him. She would fall on her knees on Goku's chest, causing him great damage because of his blow and the impulse of his body. "Damn coward and fearful," Caulifla would say while hitting Goku in the face from side to side. Goku's face went from right to left in each blow. "Everyone is dead because of you, because you never cared about your friends," Caulifla would say to throw a fist blow. But Goku would manage to hold Caulifla's hand at the right time. Goku would observe Caulifla in a threatening way. He would begin to tighten his fist with force. Caulifla could not free himself. "Don't say that again," Goku would say furiously while standing still. "Let me go," Caulifla would say. Goku would break Caulifla's nose with a short fist blow to the face, and she would go back a few steps. "You have already filled my patience with your childish cries," Goku would scream by manifesting a strange aura around his body. "Do you think?" said Caulifla, until Goku would interrupt her for a moment when he arrived with a blow to the stomach that would leave her hunched. "That was because of the blow to the stomach. It still hurts when I breathe," said Goku. "Damn," said Caulifla as she prepared her fist. But she would leave far away since Goku would attack first. "Damn bastard," said Caulifla as she tried to attack Goku. But Goku would leave her unconscious by giving her a blow to the head. Hours later, it was now night. Caulifla would open her eyes with difficulty.
She would barely manage to see Goku because of her blurry vision. "Oh, what happened?" Cauliflu would wander confused. Cauliflu would try to get up, but a strong blow to the head would stop her. Goku was with a prepared bonfire, roasting a strange pig that he had found. "Hey, you wouldn't have done anything disrespectful to me while I was unconscious?" Cauliflu would ask. "Don't be silly," Goku would answer. "Before I give you another scolding, let me tell you what happened in these 12 years, Goku would say. Goku would tell her what had happened to Beerus and how he had sent him to the Omega Zone. He also told her about what he talked to Janemba and how little he knew about Tarkio. "So for you, it was 12 days. I didn't know," Cauliflu would say, somewhat off. "I didn't imagine it. I'm sorry. It's not time for regrets. It's time to act. We have to beat Tarkio," Goku would say. "Act? Do you have an idea what Tarkio is? That guy is a beast. He annihilated every warrior that crossed his path," Cauliflu would explain. "Well, that's why we have to stop him. The adversities don't matter. You never have to give up. You always have to fight," Goku would say. "Tarkio is not only a formidable warrior, he's also a very intelligent conqueror," Cauliflu would say. "The same gods have used their strategies to stop him, but they were all defeated. I understand that you fought against him and survived with great luck," Goku would say. "Hey, how do you know?" Cauliflu would ask when he stood up furious. "In the end, you were just lying. You were not locked up in any Omega." "Don't be silly. Kaio-sama told me. It's a being that is below Kaioshin," Goku would answer. Hit would arrive in a transport cube. Goku would be happy to see him, but Cauliflu would be on guard. "Hey, why so defensive?" Goku would ask. "Hit is Tarkio's official killer. He fulfills the requests of those who don't want to attend Tarkio in person," Cauliflu would say furiously. "Come on, Hit, we don't have to be enemies," Goku would say. "You know what my profession is. I don't need to explain it to you," Hit would answer. "Don't trust yourself. Hit has become much stronger," Cauliflu would say. Hit and Goku would be on guard. Both would remain motionless for a moment. "What's wrong with those two? Why don't they fight?" Cauliflu would ask. From one moment to another, Hit and Goku were facing each other. Both would clash their fists against each other. Then they would throw the same kick, each in the form of mirror. Both blows would impact each other. "Not bad. You have trained very hard," Goku smiled, but Hit would not make any gesture. Hit and Goku would increase their ki and begin to exchange blows at high speed while moving from side to side. At one point, Goku would connect a kick to Hit's chest. He would manage to take it away from him. "Interesting. Someone has not been able to hit me for a long time," Hit would say. Hit would cross his arms, and when they were separated, two of them would appear. "It doubled," Goku would say. Then each of the two Hit would perform the same movement. Now there were four of them. "Go. Don't stop amazing me with your techniques," Goku smiled. Then Goku would feel a great pain in his body, precisely in all his skin, and he would spit blood. What was that? Goku would wonder. It must be the jump in time. It was as if several blows arrived at the same time. It is possible that my power is divided, the four eyes would say at the same time, since they were the same being. But each part of me can use the temporal jump independently. I don't know if you understand what it means. "I see. With that, your jump in time lasts 4 times longer," Goku would answer. "Well, at least you have understood it at the beginning," Hit would say. The 4 copies of Hit would launch Goku. They would make the jump in time and attack at the same time from different points. At the end of the jump in time, Goku would feel great pressure from everywhere for the accumulation of blows that would be made at the same time. "You can give up if you want," Hit would say. "You don't understand. I have already told you before," Goku would say. But Hit did not understand. Goku would transform into Super Saiyan Blue, unleashing all his power. "Even if it had been 12 days for me and 12 years for you, I trained so hard and with so much determination that every day was as intense as if I was training for a whole year," Goku said confidently. Hit would make the jump in time again. The 4 would attack Goku at the same time, but he would notice how he moved. "It can't be," Hit would say, terrified. The 4 parts of Hit would go far away when receiving a single blow each. "How did you do it?" Hit would ask, while he became one alone. "I already told you. My power goes beyond the jump in time," Goku would answer. Goku, after forcing his ki, would throw himself with everything towards Hit. With a strong punch in the chest, he would make him retreat several meters while he scraped his feet on the ground. Then Goku would go at high speed towards Hit to give him a punch, but Hit would simply hit him in the back and walk away with his hands in his pockets. Goku would not attack him. He had realized that Hit no longer had intentions to fight. The orders of Tarkio are to assassinate anyone who tries to oppose, Hit would say. But he also said that if someone strong appears, he wants to have the honor of fighting him. Very well. Tell him that I will be delighted to defeat him. He smiled at Goku as he squeezed his fist. Hey Goku, are you going to leave him like that? He would ask Caulifla while threateningly pointing to Hit. He is no longer our enemy, Goku would answer. Hey Hit, at least tell me how to get to Tarkio, Goku would ask. Look for the Eoz key. It is the Kaioshin of Universe 3. Tarkio is on an artificial planet with very advanced technology, Hit would explain. Hit would take his transport cube and withdraw. Goku, do you really plan to go fight Tarkio? Caulifla would ask something off. Of course. It does not make sense for me to stay here doing nothing. Also, for the little I know about him, he is someone who likes to fight, so dedicating myself to training will only give him time to train too, Goku would say. Are you crazy? You have no idea of the level of Tarkio, Caulifla would say. We'll see, Goku would say with great confidence. Meanwhile, Tarkio was in Universe 3. He was playing a chess game with Dr. Pepperoni. Tarkio looked very serious and confident, while Pepperoni did not stop shaking. What's going on? You're going to make your move, aren't you? Tarkio would ask Pepperoni. Pepperoni would not answer. He was about to panic. After a few seconds, Pepperoni would take a piece, but when he managed to place it, Tarkio would get up. Pepperoni did not know how to react. He understood that Tarkio had gotten bored. Great sir, don't you want to play anymore? Pepperoni would ask. I already won, Tarkio would answer. Tarkio, from an agile movement of his tail, would rip Pepperoni's hand. From the moment you started to doubt, you lost. Doubt is not the answer to anything, Tarkio would say. I'm glad I didn't take your life. Pepperoni would take his hand cut and withdraw. Hit would arrive with Tarkio since he had news for him. Wow, Hit, I haven't seen you in a while. Do you have news? Tarkio would ask. Remember that Saiyan I told you about in the past? Hit would ask. You mean that Goku from the power tournament that you have talked about so much? Tarkio would ask. That one has appeared, Hit would say. I had a fight with him. I think you will be interested in meeting him, Hit would say with a smile. Let's say he always has something to offer. He just surpassed my leap in time by 4. Tarkio smiled. He felt excited to meet Goku. That sounds fantastic. I'm bored of the mediocre beings that challenge me and do not offer any entertainment. Tarkio said, I've been years longing for a worthy fight, a formidable rival, someone who is worth it. Tarkio ended up saying something exciting. It seems that at last he had found someone who would give him a real fight. And that someone is probably Goku. Tarkio would be sitting on his throne on the planet of the Kaioshin of Universe 3. Suddenly, an army of androids would come in by force. Tarkio, we have come to destroy you, one of the androids would say in front of him. Tarkio would begin to grumble. The androids did not produce the slightest enthusiasm. Well, what are you waiting for? Tarkio would ask without greater emotion. All the androids would attack Tarkio with rays of energy, but they did not give any result. Tarkio had not even bothered to cover himself. Even so, the attacks of the androids did not produce anything. Tarkio from a distance would make a very fast movement with his tail. You would hear the wind cut off, and one of the androids would come out split in two in a vertical cut. Ha! Boring, Tarkio would say. All the androids would approach Tarkio, they would throw themselves on him to attack him, but their blows were useless. Tarkio looked like steel. Then Tarkio would snap his fingers. All the androids would be sent far away by a large curtain of ki, while their parts were made into pieces. They just bore me. I was hoping that at least they would move me from my throne, but not even that. What a disappointment, Tarkio would say. One of the largest androids would begin to move inside. A new one would come out, smaller, from inside. "Wow, I was pregnant after all," Tarkio would say. The last android standing would stretch his arms. With both, he would surround Tarkio's body. Then he would start to put pressure, but Tarkio is as if nothing. "Pathetic," Tarkio would say. Suddenly, from the hands of the android would come out a strange green gas that would reach directly to Tarkio's face and spread throughout the room. The servants who were behind Tarkio would begin to cough. Then blisters would come out of their skin that would burst instantly. Little by little, each of them would be completely melted, but Tarkio only coughed. "Damn useless. That's not fighting," Tarkio would say furiously. Tarkio would separate his arms, breaking the limbs of the android that held him. "They thought because I am a being based on organic matter, they would defeat me with those low tricks," Tarkio would say. "I am at the highest in the evolutionary chain. Nobody can against me. Nobody," Tarkio would say. Hours later, Goku and Caulifla would arrive with the Kaioshin of Universe 3. "Who are you?" Io would ask, terrified. "You should remember us. We participated in the power tournament 12 years ago," Goku would say. "Hey, Four Eyes, how do you not remember us? Goku and I had the best fight of the power tournament." Caulifla would say something annoying. "It is true, you were Goku and Caulifla of Universes 6 and 7, Io would say. "Mr. Goku, you have arrived at the right time. Tarkio is waiting for you." Caulifla swallowed saliva when hearing the name of Tarkio. "Just remembering it gives me chills. I don't know why I came here," Caulifla would say. "Hit told me that Tarkio looks for strong beings to fight, so I came here," Goku would say. "It is understood that Tarkio is a conqueror and has killed millions of people in the 12 universes. He even killed half of the gods," Io would say. "And what about Zeno? Why didn't he disappear?"
Caulifla would ask. He was amazed by his power and liked it. He also said that if the gods of destruction could not against him, it was because they proved to be incompetent, Io would say. They also met, and since Tarkio did not show that he was Zeno's place, he left him alive and at his free will. He says that Tarkio works more than the gods of destruction. "Well then, take me with him," Goku would say. Minutes later, Goku and Caulifla would arrive at Tarkio's castle. It was a huge and luxurious castle. Tarkio would receive them in person. "So it's you," Tarkio would say. "I'm surprised you recognized me. I couldn't even see you the day you left the Omega Dimension," Goku would say. "Yes, I saw you for a small fraction of a second. Thanks to you, I was able to escape," Tarkio would say. "Do you like to pass?" "Pass?" Caulifla would ask, confused. Both Saiyajins would be invited with a big banquet. Between Goku and Caulifla, they fought for who ate more. "Wow, this is very delicious," Goku would say. "I had never tried food like this," Caulifla would say. Tarkio observed Goku carefully. "I want to ask you something. How did you get out of the Omega Dimension?" Tarkio would ask while he was lying in a chair. "Well, to be honest, I trained for 12 days to be able to imitate the technique that Beerus used," Goku would say. "Can you open a portal to the Omega Dimension?" Tarkio would ask, amazed. "Well, I did it once and it took me a lot of work," Goku would laugh. "In all the years I never found a way out, and this simple Saiyajin did it in 12 days, Tarkio would say, amazed. "Goku, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a person who cares about others, and I have no intention of leaving them alive," Tarkio would say seriously. "If I invited you here, it's because I'm bored." "Hey, how are you bored?" Caulifla would say when hitting the table. Then he would regret seeing Tarkio's look. "Well, you see, I got very strong in the Omega Dimension. And after defeating my rivals and killing the most powerful beings, conquering the 12 universes and having it all, I have been bored more than usual. I have not met a single being that forces me to fight as I did before. And to be honest, that generates a great void in me," Tarkio would say. "I know how it feels," Goku would say when getting up from the table. "But destroying living beings, you will not give anyone the opportunity to reach you. All this is your fault, Goku. What are you doing?" Caulifla would ask, terrified. "Oh, I have it very clear. That's why I have not destroyed everyone and only half. I would get even more bored in a desolate place. It would be like the Omega Dimension," Tarkio would explain. Goku, I'll give you a chance. I want you to fight against me with all your strength. Okay, I'll do it, Goku smiled. Goku and Tarkio would go to a combat platform. Wow, it smells very bad here, Goku would say. I'm sorry, it's the place where I usually kill people for fun, Tarkio would apologize. Wow, this guy is crazy, Goku would think, surprised. I'm very scared. Goku does not know what Tarkio is capable of, Cauliflu would think. Well, whenever you want, Tarkio would say. Goku would raise his ki and throw himself towards Tarkio. He would arrive with a fist blow that Tarkio would resist in his hand. Then Goku would throw several blows one after another, but it would be the same result. He could not connect any of his blows. I think you're not fighting seriously, Tarkio would say. Goku would smile. Then he would move away to transform into Super Saiyan. It's true that Saiyan was also transforming, Tarkio would think. Goku would throw himself towards Tarkio again, and although he was stronger and faster than before, he could do nothing against him. Tarkio would gently push Goku. Do not waste my time. Fight with everything from the beginning, Tarkio would ask. If you want, Goku would say. Goku would scream, raising his ki to the maximum. He would transform into Super Saiyan Blue while the ground under him creaked by his enormous power. I don't remember Goku so strong, Cauliflu would say. Amazed. Interesting, show me what you have to offer me, Tarkio would say. Goku would arrive at high speed towards Tarkio. Tarkio should move his face aside to dodge a fist blow. I should dodge it, it's fast, Tarkio would think. Goku would throw several fist blows one after another without stopping. Tarkio managed to cover himself with blows, but he felt the pressure. It's fascinating, finally someone worthy to fight, Tarkio would say. Tarkio would find an opening in Goku and kick him, throwing him away. Goku would leave several meters while rolling on the ground. I have to admit that you are interesting, but you do not get to entertain me. Tarkio, with a movement of his tail, would cut the air. Goku would realize and move to one side at the right time. The cut had barely cut a strand of hair. My intention was to kill you, but I see that you are fast, Tarkio would say when smiling. Tarkio would repeat the attack of his tail over and over again. Goku moved from side to side. All attacks brushed him for nothing. Wow, it's fast, Goku would say. Goku would use teleportation to locate himself behind Tarkio. But before attacking him, Tarkio would turn his head 180 degrees. What the hell? Goku would say, terrified when moving away. Why so much amazement? Tarkio would ask. What do you mean, why? Goku would ask. Your head just turned 180 degrees. And the Saiyans can't do that? Of course not. Goku would throw himself back at Tarkio, but he could not connect any blow. Tarkio would hit Goku in the face, turning his face to one side. I told you, Goku smiled. Tarkio would regain his posture and began to attack Goku with a series of attacks that he could not dodge. In a few seconds, Goku would fall on his knees, losing his transformation. When you fight someone who is stronger than you, you must use strategies and be smart. Do not use a technique of increasing power at the cost of energy, Tarkio would explain. I expected more from him. What a disappointment, Tarkio would think. Tarkio would observe Caulifla and smile. Hey, what are you going to do to me? Caulifla would ask. Tarkio would whip his tail on the ground, breaking it, making him understand what he would do to Caulifla. Hey, you're fighting with me, don't get her in this, Goku would say. You're already out of the game, Tarkio would answer. Tarkio would move his tail to cut the air. The attack was about to reach Caulifla, but Goku would stand in front of her. Goku would clap, creating an air curtain that would counteract Tarkio's attack. But how did that happen? Tarkio would wonder when he noticed Goku's speed. Goku's ki transmitted him peace while his body lit up. I remember this, it's Bill's Ultra Instinct, Tarkio would think. Tarkio would launch against Goku with the intention of finishing him. But before he got there, he would be fired several meters back. What was that? Something hit my face, Tarkio would think. Goku would walk slowly towards Tarkio. He would look with great determination. Tarkio would throw several ki balls, but Goku would dodge them as if nothing. Those precise and harmonious movements, there is no doubt that it is the Ultra Instinct, Tarkio would think. Tarkio would scream, raising his ki to the maximum. At last, a fight that is worth it, Tarkio would scream. Goku and Tarkio would throw each other, colliding their fists with each other.
The entire platform would be destroyed by the clash between them. It was not really known who of the two could win the fight. With the passage of time, Goku had achieved something that no other mortal had been able to do before. He would break his limits again until he reached the full Ultra Instinct. At the same time, he could control the Super Saiyan Blue. Goku would dominate a power and unparalleled instinct. At the time he was ready, he thought he could face Beerus in a fight. "Seriously, what are you looking for fighting me?" Beerus asked furiously. "But you know, I just want to test my power and there is no stronger opponent than you, Mr. Beerus," Goku responded excited. "Are you looking for a position as God of Destruction?" Whis would ask with a smile, "and you dare to offer it to him?" Beerus screamed angry. "But you have to admit, Mr. Beerus, that Goku's good has improved his power a lot in recent times," Whis said, smiling unusually. Beerus would squeeze his fists frustrated when he heard that because he knew that Whis was right. "Come on, don't get angry, Mr. Beerus. I'm not interested in these things. Why would I want to become a god of destruction?" "That's boring," Goku commented disinterested, taking both hands to his head.
You see, Goku just wants to fight. I couldn't leave him such an important position as being a god, Beerus said, sighing. But Goku, imagine all the powerful beings you could meet. Also, if you become a god, I would dare to show you my true power and fight you with all my strength. Whis tried to convince Goku while smiling. That would be really exciting, Mr. Whis. If so, I will not hesitate to become a god. At least for a while, now I want to fight Mr. Beerus more. Goku would say excited and raising his ki until he transformed into Super Saiyan. But which side are you on, Whis? Beerus asked confused. Of none, Mr. Beerus, but the angels sometimes need new disciples. Whis would laugh, making fun of Beerus. I see, so you got bored of me being a god, huh? Well, I'll show you that I'm still worthy of my title, Beerus shouted angry. Forgive me, Mr. Beerus, but if I have to defeat him to be able to face the true power of Whis, I will. Goku would stand a guard to fight. You are very confident, Goku. You do not know what it means to be a god, the level of importance that my position has. You are just a little one who rises against a giant. Beerus looked very upset at Goku. Goku would stop getting into a fighting position. He would approach Beerus and put a hand on his forehead and calculate his height. But if I'm bigger than you, Mr. Beerus, Goku said confused. I do not mean that, idiot, Beerus shouted, angry, while Whis laughed at seeing the situation so comical. So what do you mean? Goku asked, curious. Enough talking. Show me what you have trained. Beerus would say, raising his gigantic shell, making a purple aura appear around him. Yes, I will show you that I am very strong. Goku would get more excited and transform into Super Saiyan Blue. The fight would begin. It was a tough fight between two warriors who would be on par. Beerus tried to knock him several times. Different blows would go straight to Goku's pressure points, but this would activate the Ultra Instinct to dodge each of those blows. Goku would be an essential warrior for Beerus and a fighter capable of putting him in tights. Come on, aren't you going to fight seriously? Goku asked, something disappointed. Beerus would get even more angry and began to launch all his power. Both fighters would destroy all the empty planets around. The bursts of ki and the explosions would take place all over the place, making everything tremble. Beerus, exhausted, would recognize Goku's new power. He had reached an unequal level, but he was not using all his power, and Goku knew that. If you don't use all your power against me, I'll finish you. Goku would warn Beerus while he shouted and charged a Kamehameha. I guess I shouldn't be so kind to you anymore, Goku. It's time for a god to teach you a lesson. Beerus would say, angry, and would appear quickly in front of Goku. Beerus, who was watching the fight calmly, would be alarmed to see how Beerus would catch Goku's hands. Beerus would not let Goku use any technique to free himself and pointed his right hand at Goku's face. No, Mr. Beerus, that's too much. Beerus shouted from a distance. I don't care, Beerus. This mortal has exceeded all my patience. Beerus replied, impure, carrying a purple aura in his hand. Goku could only put a terrified face and different spheres would accumulate in Beerus's palm. Meanwhile, on the planet Elf, a warrior with pointed ears and a long cloak would be in a sanctuary with his eyes closed. He looked concentrated, sitting on his knees and floating in the air. A few seconds later, he would stop his meditation as he would feel Beerus's power and quickly take his 2 fingers to his forehead. On Beerus's planet, the god of destruction kept pointing and would say, Goodbye, Goku. Good luck with the dragon spheres. Hakai, Beerus calmly said. The warrior with pointed ears would appear between Goku and Beerus. He would clap his palms and scream, Beerudo! A small circular light would come out of his chest and connect with Goku. Goku would put a terrified face for several seconds and then began to smile. Beerus asked while his Hakai was turning into a white light, What is this? Who are you? Beerus asked the angry man with pointed ears who had interrupted his attack. My name is Kairu. I am a simple divine elf from planet Elf.
Kairu appeared with a smile. "Just in time, Kairu," Goku said, raising his thumb in a gesture of approval. "Just in time? Did you plan for this guy to interrupt our fight?" Beerus asked, surprised. "Of course, or did you think I was going to face a god who is capable of disappearing things without a plan?" Goku commented, confused. "Oh, an elf. I haven't seen one in millennia," Whis said, rising towards the skies and approaching Kairu. "Do you know this guy, Whis?" Beerus asked, upset. "Elves are distant cousins of angels. They were the first creations of Zeno, king of all. What kind of technique is Bardock, and how could he stop my Hakai?" Beerus asked, screaming, very angry. "I don't even know. Could you explain to us what all this is, Goku?" Whis looked at Goku as he took a hand to the very thoughtful chin. Then Goku would begin to explain that, to overcome the limits of the Ultra Instinct, he traveled to different planets, trained with different gravities, and with several opponents, ancient beings, demons, and some other god that helped him increase his power. It was then that Goku, having traveled to most of the planets in a galaxy, would meet the planet Elf. It was a distant and very cold place where the Great Bardock tree was, which would be known as the origin of creation, the first place in the entire multiverse created by Zeno, king of all. The Great Bardock tree was the opposite of Hakai. It had nothing to do with destruction, since it was the origin of life. From there came Kairu, and as such could stop with his Bardock technique anything related to destruction. Hakai was not a problem for the elves, much less for Kairu. Goku would then meet Kairu and try to learn those ancient techniques, since he knew that Beerus was also teaching Hakai to Vegeta, and he could not afford to be surpassed by such a powerful technique. However, the elven techniques would be so difficult to learn that Goku could not master them, since he did not use ki, but ancient magic. After all, Kairu was an ancient elven sorcerer, of the last remaining on the planet Elf. Kairu and Goku had become friends quickly because the elf liked the pure heart and the kindness of the Saiyan, but not being able to teach him his technique, Kairu would put a seal on Goku's chest and offer him his help in case he felt that a Hakai would activate against Goku's body. "I see, so now my most powerful technique is weak against you, huh?" Beerus said, looking at his palm of the hands and the flowers that came from the Hakai. "The Hakai is a technique of destruction, a technique that should not exist, and you just used it against one of your acquaintances," Kairu would say very seriously. "Huh?" Beerus asked, something arrogant. "Don't you have remorse for all the planets you have destroyed, or all the lives you have led?" Kairu asked with hatred. "No, because I should feel it. One must forget their sins," Beerus would answer, without giving importance to everything he had destroyed. Come on, don't fight. Besides, this is a fight between Beerus and me. If he didn't fight with all his techniques and his power, I couldn't forgive him." He smiled at Goku, but at the same time he was very serious. The battle would start again, but with techniques and light blows, to gradually increase their power. Both received more punches from each other, and the power bursts destroyed everything in their path. The trees began to fall, the mountains broke into 1,000 pieces, and the plants were disintegrated. Some dry leaves would fall on Kairu's hand. Both are destroyers, Kairu thought with displeasure and hatred of Goku and Beerus. Whis would look from a distance at Kairu. "What are you up to, Elf? After millennia, you appear in front of a god? This is not a normal event," Whis would think for himself. Beerus tried to use the Hakai many times during the fight, but that technique was quickly cancelled by Kairu and his unusual technique. Damn, I don't like to depend on another subject to be in Beerus's power, but I have no choice. I don't know if my Ultra Instinct could beat the Hakai. Anyway, it's not worth risking, Goku would think, very frustrated for receiving an extra help for his fight. Beerus would look at hatred, how his attacks were cancelled by Kairu. Then he would leave his frustration aside and think clearly. Well, then if you are the reason I can't use my Hakai, I should just finish with that elf to use my Hakai again. Beerus screamed furious and would invest directly against Kairu. What? He comes straight to me, Kairu would scream desperately and cover his whole body with both arms. However, Beerus's fist would be interrupted by Goku's hand, who would catch the blow with his own hand. Don't try to do something stupid, Beerus. Kairu is not a warrior, Goku said enraged. Do you think I care?
Beerus would ask, using his other hand and throwing all his power at Goku's face. Goku would only dodge it and return his own burst against Beerus. No, I can't dodge it. Beerus was scared to see all the power that the Ultra Instinct had mixed with the Super Saiyan God phase. A blue wave would completely cover Beerus and would make him scream until hurting his whole body. The burst would end and Beerus would fall defeated to the ground. Whis would be surprised to see this and would approach Goku. Then he would touch Goku's shoulder with his scapula and say, I guess now you will be the new god of destruction. Beerus, without the Hakai, you are a weak person. You trusted yourself for having such a powerful technique and did not train to exceed your limits. That was your mistake.
Goku said, looking at Beerus, who was on the ground, very hurt. Kairu would be so surprised by the new name that he felt all the potential of Goku. It's pure, but the Ultra Instinct makes him change his personality. Have I made a mistake helping him? I feel that a very bad future is approaching for this universe. Kairu was worried while watching Goku, who looked like someone totally different. Beerus was completely unconscious due to the fight he had had against Goku. The God of Destruction could not even lift one of his muscles. Now that Goku had defeated Beerus, he would be turned by Whis into the new God of Destruction. That's why he used his powers to change his clothes, worn by a new fighting suit. Well, I'm very sorry, Beerus, but I needed to do it, so now that I have won, you can show me your true powers, right? Goku said, very excited to Whis. Yes, now I can train you as it should be. Beerus has lost the desire to train a long time ago, but you seem to want to break your limits. Whis replied proudly. Well, then this will be exciting. Goku would say, smiling, and would expel a lot of his ki. But before we start a fight, I warn you one thing. Whis seriously warned. Goku, surprised, would stop raising his ki and return to normal. What do you mean, Whis? Goku curiously asked. What I want to tell you is that my Hakai is 5 times more powerful than Beerus. If your friend Kairu does not stop him, you will be erased from all existence, Goku. Whis explained, looking at Kairu with a smile. What, 5 times stronger? Goku shouted, very surprised, and would cross his arms in a thoughtful way. Really, this angel has all that power? Kairu said to himself, very worried. Well, it does not matter. I trust that Kairu will stop him. He is not a warrior like us, but at least he has very curious techniques. He smiled at Goku, looking at Kairu. However, the elf had no reason to smile, rather he was worried. He would close his eyes, thinking about the dangers that destructive gods could bring and how the angels were looking for increasingly powerful gods like Goku. What would happen if more gods like that appeared? With their unlimited powers, they would be unable to be stopped by someone. Kairu thought, very scared. What should I do? Kairu continued to ask himself. Goku is a pure-hearted being, but the Ultra Instinct has shown me more than once how it can corrupt someone. Kairu sighed, remembering his brother. Kairu would relive moments of the past, memories of the elves that they, like the angels, could learn to control the Ultra Instinct. At first, everything would go well and the elven race would use that power to defend themselves from the demons. But sooner or later, that state would be what would begin the battle between their race, a battle that ended much of the race of the elves, known as the Elven Rupture. The elves, thirsty for power, would learn the Ultra Instinct, but nevertheless the instinct of these creatures would be the opposite of their personalities. An elf usually sought peace and provided support to all existing creatures. But when he dominated the Ultra Instinct, his desire for conquest and power grew. It was a race that was destroyed alone. Kairu was very young to have participated in that battle, but he had heard the stories of his father and had seen his own brother become a destructive being. He was a kind elf who always took care of Kairu, but when he managed to dominate the Ultra Instinct, he fought against his own father and ended up dead for his desire for power. Kairu, now that he knew that Goku had the Ultra Instinct, would worry more. How long would it take Goku to get bored and want to conquer or destroy? His desire to fight could end up turning him into an unstoppable god of destruction. The Ultra Instinct is a technique that could change personalities, so I have no other alternative. Kairu thought, opening his eyes side by side and looking seriously at Goku. No, Goku, I could not stop such a powerful Hakai, Kairu said as a final answer. What? Then what will I do? I can't ask Whis not to use it. Come on, Kairu, there has to be a way. He would beg Goku to join his palms in the form of a supplication. Yes, there is, but that would make you have to postpone the fight a bit. Kairu replied, planning a quick strategy in his mind. What are you planning, elf? Whis thought suspiciously. To stop that type of power, you need a stone, a very powerful object that is capable of giving me divine spells. As you will see, the technique I use to stop the Hakai is a level 2 technique, Kairu commented, giving an explanation to Goku. Kairu would divide the type of spells into level 1, normal, level 2, abnormal. That would be the top of his powers. But there would be a level 3, divine, a power that is only worthy of the Elven Kings. And a normal elf like Kairu could only reach level 2, although with the help of a certain object, he could reach a divine level. And many spells would unlock for the elf possessing the object. Oh, I see, and what is that object? Goku asked, surprised. That object is the Stone of Light, Kairu would say, raising his index finger. Whis would open his eyes at the same time and be surprised. Oh, so the elf had planned that. Whis thought, and what do you have to do to get the Stone of Light? Goku would ask, looking at Kairu. I need to recover it, Kairu would answer, frustrated. Come on, Goku, what will you do now? You must be very careful, persuasive. A god of destruction cannot refuse the luxury of wasting time with ancient races. You have to know how to visualize when someone tries to deceive you, Whis thought with a smile. Well then there we are going to look for that Stone of Light for you, Goku said, raising his thumb. What? Was still thinking, frustrated. You're not even going to ask him anything? Maybe you are not an excellent candidate for what intelligence means. Whis sighed. Well, our battle will be later, Whis. Please, I ask you to wait for me until I can counter your Hakai. Goku would say, a little serious. Maybe you are not the one for the position of God, but I see your will. Well, anyway, this will be a test for you, Whis said to himself and closed his eyes. Well, I will heal Mr. Beerus's wounds. You do what you have to do, Goku. And Goku would assist with his head. But Goku, be careful. The Stone of Light can be very dangerous. Whis warned, crossing a serious look with Kairu. What do you mean? Goku asked, very confused. Nothing, you just have to be careful. Whis would say seriously, and finally Whis would turn his back to Goku and Kairu and withdraw. Does he refer to you, Kairu? Goku asked, confused. Yes, I'm afraid that the elves have competed many times for the approval of Zeno-Sama. They are jealous, they think we are dangerous creatures for their positions of angels, Kairu explained, frustrated. Oh, I see, Goku replied, understanding the situation. Well then, you are ready, Kairu would ask, putting a hand on Goku's shoulder.
Yes, where will we go? Goku asked, anxious. To the Hill of the Elf King, Kairu said, and both would disappear. Elf Planet, Hill of the Elf King. Goku and Kairu would appear in front of a gigantic white castle. Wow, this is huge, Goku would say, very surprised. This place was built by dwarves when the elves saved them from the slavery of the angels, Kairu commented, placing his hands back and walking slowly. Dwarves? Do you speak of little people? Goku would ask, imagining in his head to chaos in Krillin. Not exactly. The dwarves are builders and guardians. It is a race. They are not just small, but they have hands capable of forging incredible objects. They were the ones who created the Stone of Light, Kairu explained seriously. Goku and Kairu would be questioned by the elven knights who guarded the great door to the castle. After many questions in a language that Goku did not understand, the knights would let Kairu pass along with Goku. Goku would open his mouth, very surprised, and both would walk towards a large hall where a large banquet would take place at a giant table. I did not know this part of your planet. I thought you did not eat, Goku said while the baba fell out of his mouth for the food he was seeing. Go ahead, you can eat, I would say, one of the elves with white hair and ears just as pointed as Kairu, but he was wearing a crown. Thank you very much, Goku said, and would undoubtedly go to the table and eat everything he could very quickly. You too, Kairu, sit down and eat. He offered food to the elf to Kairu. Thank you very much, Your Majesty, Kairu replied, sitting down to eat with Goku. Goku would stop for a moment with his mouth full and ask, Your Majesty? Goku asked, very surprised. That's right, the Elf King would respond by pointing out his crown. Goku would get up quickly and bow his head in a sign of respect. What are you doing? The Elf King would ask with a smile. It is that Beerus told me that I should show respect to the kings.
He was very upset when I did not do it with Zeno. Goku would answer while he sat down again. The Elf King would start laughing. You do not need to use that kind of thing here. We are all brothers here. We were born from the big tree. I consider myself equal to others, the king commented. Oh, I see, Goku said thoughtfully as he took a plate of noodles to his mouth. And tell me, what are you doing here? What is this sudden visit for? The Elf King asked Kairu in a friendly tone. Listen to me, please, Your Majesty. We need the Stone of Light, Kairu asked decisively. The face of the Elf King would change and become serious. Stone of Light? What do you mean, Kairu? He asked the king while shouting, very annoyed. There is a very strong opponent to which Goku must face, Kairu explained by pointing to Goku. I feed them in my living room. Isn't that enough? How dare you ask for such a precious object? The king shouted more than before, very angry. We need it. It's to stop Whis, Goku would say in a disinterested way. Whis, the angel. You want to use it against him? Have you gone crazy, Kairu? He would ask the king, surprised. No, I'm more sane than ever. That's why I need the stone. We need the stone, Kairu replied, frustrated. Never. I will never give you a power like that. You are welcome to my living room, but do not forget that you have the same corrupt fame that your brother has had. The Elf King would answer by getting up from his chair and moving a necklace that he was wearing on his neck. Kairu would take advantage of the movement and swing in a second to take the necklace. The Elf King would observe surprised how Kairu's body would electrocute completely and send him to fly. Kairu! Goku would scream, and then he would get up very surprised and go to help his friend Kairu. I'm fine, Kairu said, getting up. Did you really think that the Stone of Light would be given like that and nothing else? The Elf King asked, completely annoyed. Get out of my living room. I don't want to see you ever again. The Elf King screamed, and 2 guards with white armor would stand in position to fight. Come on, we will leave without resisting. I know the way. Kairu would answer and take Goku with him. Once out, Goku would ask Kairu, Why did you do that? It was not necessary. He treated us kindly. Goku asked, confused. Lie, Goku. Don't you see? We have to steal the Stone of Light, Kairu would answer with a serious face. Steal? If the stone is in his power, that means we can't do anything, Goku said, tired. No, Goku. The stone belonged to my brother. He stole it. You have to help me get it back, Kairu explained seriously. What should I do? If what Kairu says is true, I will have to steal the Stone of Light from the king. But if I don't get it, I won't be able to stop Whis' Hakai. I must get that stone to have the best battle I've ever had so far. And I can't let Whis fight me. I'll get that stone anyway, Goku said to himself, very excited, but at the same time he was worried. If they didn't get the Stone of Light, Goku could die fighting Whis and disappear forever. Now that Kairu had rebelled against his king to steal the Stone of Light, Whis was trying to convince Goku to help him with his plan. I don't think the best option is to steal it. I'm sorry your brother was robbed, but I don't think this is the best option, Goku said, nodding in his head. So, you think this king is good just for the deal he gave us? Well, then I will show you something. Come with me, I would say that Kairu, advancing towards the back of the great castle. Both walked along a high hill, and on the other side was a great shining mountain. What are you going to show me, Kairu? Goku asked, looking curiously. There, I would say Kairu, pointing to the mountain, specifically to a cave with rails on the ground. What is have it? It's just a cave, he replied to Goku, taking his hands to his head, somewhat confused. Let's go down, Kairu said, throwing himself towards the front of the mine. Inside the cave there were torches that would hardly illuminate the dark place. What is here? Goku would ask curiously. Both would start walking and Kairu would carry a torch in his hand. It is time you know something. I have told you that the dwarves built the castle and that they are good forgers, right? Kairu asked seriously. Yes, you told me as soon as we got to it, Goku replied confused. Well, I lied to you, he said, Kairu with a serious face as he advanced. What? Why? Goku asked, impressed. Because the dwarves were not brought here in a peaceful way. He ended up saying Kairu as they went deeper and deeper into the mine. There, the torches would be unnecessary, since it was a place full of diamonds, similar to the Lightstone and completely shiny. Inside, there were several dwarves doing the work of miners and digging the precious stones. Some of them looked dirty, exhausted, and with sweat on their bodies. They all worked hard, chained. There was also one of the elves who watched them with crossed arms and a very serious look. The king has forced all of them to get more and more objects like the Lightstone. The dwarves are enslaved by the elf king, Kairu said seriously. The elf who was on guard would give the two intruders the high. Kairu would turn off the light of his torch, and before the other elf could give the alarm, he would be strongly hit by a kick from Kairu. The elf who was taking care of the place would fall, and the dwarves would be surprised. Enslaved? This is horrible, Goku would say, seriously. I did not want to tell you the truth because I feared that you would begin to hate the king, but this is the only way you understand that my king is a danger to the other species, if the Lightstone is still in his power, Kairu commented while covering his face with the darkness of the place. Several dwarves would see the elf who was on the ground, and one of them would shout, "Quick, we are free! They have released us!" The dwarves shouted. "It was you?" An excited dwarf asked Goku. "What? Me?" Goku would ask himself. "Tell them the truth, dwarf. Tell them that the king has locked them in here," Kairu said, getting closer and closer and showing his face in front of the dwarves. One of the dwarves would horrifiedly point to Kairu and say, "It's you?" Goku would not see the gesture since he would be turning his back on Kairu, but the dwarves had seen how the elf smiled in an evil way and carried his index finger in a gesture of silence towards his mouth. "Come on, tell them how the king has locked them up," Kairu would say in a threatening tone. And so the dwarf had captured the message, since if he said something that Kairu did not want, they would end up dead. It was then that one of the dwarves began to narrate the story. An elf totally corrupted by the Ultra Instinct had fought the strongest warrior dwarves and had defeated them. This elf took the dwarf builders and took them to the king as a gift. Once the dwarves were imprisoned, they built the castle and forged very powerful objects with the stones they took out of the cave. It was there that the Stone of Light was born, found by one of them, and that was placed in the center of the Tree of Life to obtain different divine powers. Why didn't they use the stones to escape from here? Goku asked, confused. The elves can only use magic. We only build and forge, sir. No dwarf could be a spell of the level of the Stone of Light, the dwarf explained, very upset and with his head down. Well, you heard it, Goku. These dwarves were enslaved by an evil being and brought here to serve the king. What are we going to do now? Will you take the Stone of Light or not? Kairu asked seriously. Goku was now a god. He had defeated Beerus, and something inside him told him that he had to take cards on the matter. It was like this that finally decided that no other race would suffer the same as the dwarves. He would give the first blow and go to steal the stone from the king. "I will take the stone and make the king fall," Goku said furiously as he clenched his fists. "Well, go ahead. I will free these dwarves," Kairu would say, worried. And in this way, Goku would get out of there flying very fast, while the dwarves were getting more and more scared for having been left alone with Kairu. "Well done. I loved your story," Kairu commented with a smile. "We did what you wanted. Free us, demon!" the angry dwarf shouted. Kairu would use his fingers in a light technique to cut the chains of the dwarves. "Well, all of you are free." Kairu smiled and closed his eyes. One of the dwarves would try to walk with distrust and move away, but he would be pierced by a ray of light that would come out of Kairu's finger. "What are you doing? You promised to free us!" one of the dwarves shouted with terror in his voice. "And that's what I did. I freed them. What he does next is just my business." Kairu smiled as he pointed his finger at the dwarf. "Elven demon!" one of them shouted before being pierced along with his other companions. All the dwarves fell one by one and would die in front of the elf. "Well, they're all," Kairu would say, and would begin to fly out of the cave, but one of the dwarves with a hole in his chest would get up and, wounded, would walk out of the cave. Goku would enter the castle and begin to fight with the elves that would get in his way, but not as the kind Goku of always, but as an enraged Goku worthy of the position of God of Destruction. "Elf King," Goku shouted in the huge hall, "I have forbidden you to enter my palace. What are you doing here?" the Elf King asked, completely upset. "I have come to snatch that from you so that you do not hurt another species again," Goku would scream, pointing the Stone of Light. "What? What do you mean?" the Elf King would ask. "I'm talking about the dwarves you have working in the mines," Goku would say seriously. "Oh, that. The dwarves are not a race. They are simply tools, our tools. Also, it is very hypocritical of you to blame me for being a slave when you are next to one," said the Elf King, pointing to Kiru, who entered through the huge doors of the hall. "You lie. I would never be a slave," Kiru shouted, angry. "Yes, you are. You brought me those dwarves," said the Elf King with his arms crossed. "Goku, don't believe him. He's lying. My king confuses me with my brother, the corrupted being who almost end everything. I would never do something like that. I just seek peace," said Kiru while screaming very desperate. "What the hell is going on here? I don't understand. Which of you two tells the truth?" Goku asked, very confused. "Don't you believe me, Goku? It was me. I stopped the Hakai for you. You have to believe me. This king only lies." Kiru's frustration was so great that Goku could not believe the idea that his friend was a slave and a traitor. It would be then that Goku would make the decision to take care of the king first and then find out the truth of Kiru. He would approach the king very slowly and demand the stone from him, but nevertheless he would deny it completely. Both would start a fight, but the elves were not warriors, but sorcerers. He had spells so powerful that he would be able to absorb the ki and techniques of Goku. Goku tried to activate his Ultra Instinct, but the king would use his denial technique, preventing Goku's ki from increasing, as if he had put a barrier to his unlimited powers. "I don't understand. What is this?" Goku asked, very frustrated. "It is the power of the magic stone, born from the tree of life."
It also has spells to absorb vitality, he explained to the Elf King with an evil smile. It seemed that Goku was getting less and less energy and strength to fight. "It cannot be. I am a god. I am the new god of destruction. There should be no limits for me," Goku would give himself. "You are just a hollow head that seeks to fight, but we, those of the ancient races, can handle spells capable of getting out of your imagination," the Elf King commented, excited by all the vitality that he would absorb from Goku. Goku would fall on his knees before the power of the Light Stone. He had no energy left. All his powers and even the Ultra Instinct would be lost with the light that came out of the Light Stone. However, the Elf King would trust so much that he had forgotten Keiru. He would lower his guard so much that Keiru would see the opportunity to reach his back and cross it with his entire arm. The blood would splash all over the place and would spill from Keiru's fingers. "No, you cannot! You cannot kill your king!" the Elf King screamed, completely terrified and bleeding to tears. The Elf King would fall and Keiru would take the stone under his power. Goku would get up from the ground very tired and smile at Keiru. He asked him to please give him back the powers that the Light Stone had absorbed from his body. But a small smile would appear on Keiru's face. "And if I don't do it, what?" he would ask Keiru with a murderous look. "Please, Keiru, I can't believe in the power of this stone. Not even being such a strong warrior, I was able to fight her. Give me back my strength," Goku begged. "I'm afraid, Goku, I can't do it. You are a god of destruction, and I can't allow someone with your level of destruction to return all his power to him."
Keiru said seriously. Then Keiru would not answer and would remain silent, since now his gaze would be attracted by the brightness of the Lightstone. The king was right. You are the corrupt. You deceived me. Damn, I was a fool to trust you. Goku was screaming, lamenting, without even being able to take 2 steps without falling. Keiru just smiled and said, I only seek peace, Ayaji. The elves only seek peace. Keiru kept smiling with a murderous look. No, you can't betray me. I trust you, Keiru. Damn it, why are you doing this? Goku screamed and begged with his eyes closed. He could not believe that his friend Keiru was betraying him. And maybe now he will kill him mercilessly as he did with the Elf King. Now that Keiru had revealed his true intention, Goku could not do anything to stop him. At least not with his physical strength. That's why he would try to talk to the elf. At least you believe something of what you say yourself, Goku asked furiously. Of course, if you become a god of destruction, tell me, how long will it take for you to start destroying planets uncontrollably? Just as Beerus did all his years being a god. They destroyed so much, even my brother. Keiru said, closing his eyes and remembering events of the past, remembering how his brother had been destroyed by the gods of destruction. Do you plan peace by enslaving other races? Goku would ask, increasingly angry. They are tools. True peace comes from the elves, and as such, we are the only ones who can enjoy it with the king Zeno. Keiru answered with a smile and pointing her fingers to Goku's heart. Stop! He shouted a voice that came from Goku's back. Goku looked tired with the few forces he had left. And he would see one of the dwarves who had survived in the mines. Keiru would watch him with hatred. So one of them escaped me, Keiru thought. The dwarf carried a golden hammer with him and would hold his bloody chest with one hand. Why do you introduce yourself to us? Dwarves like to interrupt, Keiru said, pointing her finger at the dwarf. What brother were you talking about, demon? The dwarf asked with fatigue. This conversation does not suit you. Die! Keiru shouted, emitting a slight glow of light on the tip of his finger. So the rumors were true, the dwarf would say, closing his eyes and smiling. Keiru, surprised, would stop pointing with his index finger and ask, What rumors? Speak, dwarf. Keiru asked curiously. The gods have already stopped you once, and they will do it again, the dwarf would say. But what things do you say? I was not. My brother was defeated by the gods. My brother was corrupted and destroyed. It was not me. Keiru shouted, scared and with a trembling voice. No, my grandfather told me what happened long before you enslaved us, the dwarf commented seriously. 3,000 years before the conquest of the dwarves, Keiru in his 40,000 years had appreciated all life on the planet Elf. He loved the animals and flowers he found on his way. He cared of his own and everything that surrounded him. But one day, Zeno created a new system for the known multiverse, a system in which creators as destroyers had their place, their position to destroy and create at pure pleasure. Keiru saw entire races extinct while others would be created. He could not adapt to the sudden change, to this destruction that only made sense in the mind of Zeno. Why? I don't understand. Why would they create all this to then destroy it? It cannot be. This is so frustrating for me. He would think then to change things, to at least try to control a bit of this whole system in the multiverse. It would be for this that he would kneel before Zeno. Please, Zeno, allow me to guide these destructive beings. Allow me and my elven race to make you know the precious that can be the multiverse and the wonderful virtues it has. He begged Keiru with his eyes closed and his head crouched. No, he would answer Zeno in a short way. No, but why? Keiru asked, very confused, while the sweat would run down his forehead. Because we already have others for that position, Zeno commented while making a small red ball float. What? Who? Keiru asked, frustrated. Well, to Los Angeles, Zeno said, introducing the Grand Priest to Keiru. It is an honor to meet you, the Grand Priest would say. Who are they? I never heard of you.
Keiru said, very surprised. They are my most important creations so far, Zeno would answer. And those would be the words that would begin with the corruption of Keiru. The elf would return to his planet and would demand the king to do something about it. But this would be denied since his nature was extremely peaceful. Keiru had managed to activate the Ultra Instinct and would take a few sorcerers of his race to reveal himself. Most had learned to master the Ultra Instinct, and they would all start a devastation like no other was seen in the entire multiverse. A much angrier and bigger Keiru was destroying everything around him with a big smile. Keiru had destroyed and used the most powerful spells against his own race. He murdered most of the angels and enslaved the races to give them to his king. His Ultra Instinct would be so powerful that many of the other gods would try to contain it, but no one could against such a great and destructive power. No one except the Grand Priest himself and Zeno. Both beings would stop the chaos that Keiru would cause, but a sorcerer could never be defeated by force, and disappearing was not an option, since being an elf sorcerer being mainly the first creations of Zeno. They would know how to counteract and reappear before their creator. It would be then that Zeno would use a spell of restart, one where Keiru would disappear, but would reincarnate and be born in another elf. When the Grand Priest wanted to destroy this new baby, Zeno stopped him, saying that it was no longer a threat to the multiverse. It was then that Zeno asked the Elf King to take care of that baby, since he would have a second chance to be born with his peaceful nature. Keiru, completely surprised, could not believe everything he had told the dwarf. "You're lying." Keiru was screaming, completely shocked when he heard the news. "It's not like that, Keiru. Everything they told you is a lie. It was not your brother, it was always you, your previous life," the dwarf responded, approaching. It would be then that Keiru, completely on the verge of madness, he began to hold his head, very nervous. Some of his hair would be pulled out by frustration, while another voice would come out of him. "Yes, it's true. I've been waiting for you to wake up," said that voice. "Let's finish with them. Let's finish what I started thousands of years ago." He kept saying the voice that came out of Keiru. The dwarf would look at Goku and nod his head. "What are you going to do?" Goku asked, trying to get up, but it was useless. He did not have enough strength to stand up. "Demons, my energies, my vitality is on the ground," Goku said to himself while watching impotent as the dwarf approached Keiru. "We have the Soul Stone. Do it. Conquer everything that surrounds you. Let's have more races to our power and be the new Elf King," said the voice in Keiru's mind, and all his body would lose balance and tremble to scream. "Shut up! Shut up! You don't exist! All this is a lie!" screamed nervous and worried Keiru. The dwarf would take advantage of Keiru's lack of control and would snatch the Soul Stone from his neck. Anyway, Keiru would not realize, since he was fighting himself, and would start screaming like never before. Everything around him would tremble while a white and black aura would slowly surround him. The dwarf approached Goku and would put the Soul Stone in front of him. "What are you going to do?" Goku asked, exhausted. "Release your powers. What else?" The dwarf would respond, somewhat angry. "Well, thank you very much. You are very kind," Goku said, smiling. "But after this, you will surely absorb all the essence of the Soul Stone. Are you sure your body can stand it?" the dwarf asked with concern. "Of course, my body is extremely strong. I will be able to withstand that power and more," Goku would answer, raising his thumb in pain. "Well, then I ask you to please release my race after this," the dwarf would say, raising his golden hammer to the sky. "I will do it, I promise you," Goku would respond, but an explosion would send the dwarf flying through the air. "No!" Goku screamed, angry. In front of him was a completely evil aura, a new Keiru with completely white eyes and emanating unlimited strength. Were they trying to destroy my precious Soul Stone? Would they really reach that limit to stop me?
Keiru asked, slowly approaching. Damn, we were so close, Goku thought, looking at the dwarf, who seemed to want to get up again. By all the elven gods, that dwarf is a nuisance. Keiru smiled, pointing it with his finger. But before he could even shoot, his attack would be deflected toward the skies. In front of him was Whis, who was very serious. I knew you weren't planning anything good when I let you leave with Goku, Whis commented seriously. Thank you, Whis, Goku said, relieved to see his future master. I thought you could with the situation, but I see that you were losing. Whis sighed to see Goku's deplorable state. I don't know how to deal with spells. If I were a normal opponent, I would already have defeated him. Goku said, smiling, so the angel came to the spiderweb. Well, for me, it's fine. I'll finish them one by one. Keiru and Whis shouted that they would start a battle for all the skies and destroying everything in their path. It would be at this moment that the dwarf would take the opportunity to approach Goku, and with his hammer, he would take the Soul Stone once again. But the fight for Whis became difficult. His Hawkeye was not a rival for this new Keiru,
Much more powerful than before, and with an unmatched Ultra Instinct. Just like thousands of years ago, Keiru had become the most powerful sorcerer in the entire multiverse. The dwarf would hammer once again, making a simple crack appear on the stone. He would hammer again and again until the stone emitted a slight light. Without stopping, he would hit the stone without stopping until it would break into 1,000 fragments. That would come out scattered throughout the entire elf planet. A slight shine of light would come out and enter inside Goku. A bright essence and the powers contained in thousands of races would be introduced into Goku's chest. Whis and Keiru looked surprised at Goku and would stop their fight, since now Goku would rise once again from the ground, with his body even bigger than before and emanating an aura much more powerful than Whis and Keiru. But the white aura of Ultra Instinct would mix with an aura of a dark purple color. Goku would look at his hands surprised. Whis, that the Hawkeye? Whis was completely proud of Goku. How? There's no Hawkeye that exceeds level 5, Keiru said with his trembling voice. Do not underestimate the power of a Saiyan, Goku shouted, observing Keiru with hatred. It seems that I no longer have to intervene in this fight, Whis would say, looking aside and leaving the fight in the hands of Goku. Goku and Keiru looked very serious. You will regret having enslaved the race of dwarves, Goku said, looking at Keiru with a lot of hatred. Oh yeah, and do you think mixing your Hawkeye with Ultra Instinct will help you? Keiru asked, mocking Goku. Goku began to walk step by step slowly to Keiru. Come closer. I have 1,000 more spells for your absurd power. You have only increased your power a little. You are an idiot, and as such you will die. Keiru shouted, throwing himself and joining his hands to emit a warm and white light. Supreme Spell, Big Bang Sun, Keiru shouted and pointed with his new attack at Goku, who had Ultra Instinct and Hawkeye combined. Keiru's spells had become very powerful, but Goku with his new state became stronger. Either of them could win this battle, both the elf and the Saiyan. What could happen now that Goku awakened a new state of Hawkeye with the Ultra Instinct dominated? And also, will Goku beat Keiru, or will Keiru's new attack completely destroy Goku? We will see all this in the next part of this incredible theory. And well, friends, I hope you liked the compilation of all these movies. If you want to see more movies, more compilations, and more parts, leave your like and comment and subscribe. If this video reaches 200 likes, I will upload the next compilations without fail. Without more to say, see you in the next theory.